Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel, and of course this is the second video I'm going to do in our look at the last crescendo undercard. This fight of course is coming up on February the 22nd in the Kingdom Arena, Saudi Arabia. My original video for this card was done about a month ago, and I made my initial picks. So in this particular video, we'll see whether my initial pick is my current pick. And of course, this is between the Texan Virgil Ortiz Jr. and the Uzbek, who now fights out of California, Israil Madrimov. The betting odds have not shifted in the past month. Ortiz is still going off a 1.83. There's actually been a slight movement for Madrimov. He was 2.00. He's now 2.05. That's my local betting odds. Your betting odds, wherever you are in the world, may be different, of course. And this is for Ortiz's WBC World Interim Super Welterweight title. It's promising to be a really, really good fight. This one is one that I think might not go the distance. It's certainly not one to sleep on. As I said in my initial video done a month ago, if you're going to make yourself a cup of tea or coffee or drink of your choice or whatever you want when you're watching the card, probably you don't want to do it in this fight. Maybe in the Shakur Stevenson one you can maybe, but in this fight, this is one where I think you want to keep your eyes open. Number 3 in the world, Texan Ortiz. He's 26 years old. He's 5'10", 70-inch reach. He's got a very impressive record: 22-0, 21 KOs, a 95% KO ratio. Excuse me. No losses. This man is definitely a guy who likes to get his work done, go home, and just chill out and check out his bank balance. His last 4 fights, the last one was against Bohachuk. This was a majority decision, and Ortiz was down in the 1st and the 8th round. Now again, just because somebody goes down doesn't necessarily tell me a tremendous amount. If they get up and they continue and they fight well, that shows a lot of heart, a lot of character, right? So just because someone's been dropped previously, it doesn't necessarily mean that they've got no punch resistance or they're somehow weak. I mean, look at Parker. Parker was dropped by Zhang twice, and Parker got back up off the floor. So it's how you recover from a knockdown, to me, that actually tells me a lot. Like, even though I'm not a big fan of his, Tyson Fury gets dropped, but he gets back up. He shows a lot of recovery. Whereas Anthony Joshua, when Anthony Joshua is under pressure and put down, he's on Queer Street. He's got legs like Bambi, right? So it depends. Prior to Bohachuk, he had a 1st round KO in 24 of Dolomi, a 1st round TKO of Lawson, and a 1st round TKO also of Lawson. So he definitely isn't a fellow who believes in he's paid for a job. He gets his job done quickly, right? He's going to bring likely relentless pressure to this fight. That's his style. Relentless pressure, and he's got lots and lots of power. I thought I had some notes over there, but I don't. So I'll have to go from memory. Madrimov is number 4 in the world. So this is definitely, the best fighting the best. They're very, very closely rated. He's 30 years old, a smaller fellow. 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. So, he's the shorter fellow, and he's going to need to get in there with a little bit less reach. His record is not as impressive, but on the other hand, it's 10-1-1. In last year, he lost to Crawford, Terence Crawford over distance, and he was criticized for not sort of applying more pressure in the championship rounds. That's something that I would expect him to try and correct. If he's got a chance here against Ortiz, he's got to be resisting Ortiz's pressure, he's got to be counterpunching, and he's got to be giving it all. He can't be taking any foot off any gas pedal here. If he's got a chance, he's got to be really pushing back on Ortiz. Again, of course, a loss to Terence Crawford is no shame. Like I said in a previous video, when you're losing to elite fighters, there's no shame in this whatsoever, right? A lot of people don't even get to challenge against elite fighters. What slightly troubles me about Madrimov is his lack of activity. So sure, in 24 he goes the distance with Crawford. That was, of course, for the WBO interim. He had a unanimous decision over Kurbanov in 24, distance fights, 10 rounds. In 23 then, he gets another unanimous distance decision, 10 rounds, over Igbokwe. And in 22, he draws with Soro. So he's significantly the less active of the two fighters. And one of the things I often look for is activity. I tend to think that the more fights a fighter gets in a year, the better he is. And now that might be my natural bias in some ways. I like active fighters, and of course I grew up and developed my love of boxing in the days when fighters were fighting very frequently, and of course you don't have to go back to many generations ago, but even sort of, if you look at look at Tyson's, I'm Mike Tyson, of course, when he came onto the scene, how many fights they were having. So I like to see an active fighter. And so that might be that's a question mark, if you like, that I have about Madrimov. Whereas Ortiz has been the busier fighter, though he's hardly been breaking a sweat in these fights, but he's been going through the camps, he's been getting into fight mode, and of course he's been, with the exception of Bohachuk, he's been putting people away. Now, initially, when I did my first video a month ago, something in my tummy was telling me that Madrimov might be able to pull this out of the bag. But I've reflected upon it, I've allowed myself to sort of marinade, if you like, and I think that the lack of fights might be to Madrimov's detriment. So I'm going to switch my prediction, and I'm going to go with the favorite, Ortiz. I wouldn't be surprised at a knockout here. It would be, in fact, it would be on the cards that this would be a knockout or a TKO. But I'm just going to go with a straight win, and I'm going to go with a straight win for Virgil Ortiz Jr. So that's different than where I was thinking a month ago. My intuition, my tummy, that feeling you sometimes get, that was leaning me towards Israil Madrimov. But this is a case where as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, just not quite enough activity for me. So I'm going to go final prediction for Virgil Ortiz. And I don't usually go against what my initial gut is telling me, but in this case I am. So I've got Virgil Ortiz, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's by a stoppage. So there we go. Please let me know in the comments section what you all think. Do you fancy Ortiz, or do you think that Madrimov has got enough? It'll be an interesting fight. I think the key to victory, if Madrimov has one, is to resist that onslaught and to put Ortiz in a position where Ortiz is thinking that he has to be, on the defense. Possibly, as Ortiz is coming in, particularly if Ortiz is a little bit lax, he could fall victim to some very good counterpunching. But I think that Ortiz is just going to be a bit too much. There's my view. Please hit like, please subscribe, please comment below. If you think I'm out to lunch, please let me know. Okie dokie. See you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.